Welcome back, War Room fans. Okay, we're talking about phase 2, strategic planning. Now, phase 2 is the heart of the game. This is where we're going to start writing our orders. Now, the thing about writing the orders is I'll go through the process of how to do that, the physical writing of the orders and the turn order bids. But the big thing is the time. This is probably the biggest step that will consume time when you first play, or even if it's your 10th game. And it's up to the players themselves to decide, do you want to use like a timer, a 10-minute timer, 15, 20, hey, let's just let it go. And, if it takes 30 minutes to do it, because the guys are going to want to split up into teams and maybe look at the boards, like right here on the back of the reference of the phase sequence, you have the board here. So some groups might leave the room and you can at least look at the boards and see what's going on. Some guys, what they do is they go, okay, we're going to go to the other room. They might take pictures on their phones to see the disposition of their troops, but at least they have the map. Okay, so they don't have to be coming back in, looking at the map like, well, I don't know where, where is this? So you can have this. So this is a nice reference for guys who want to go to another room. Let's say the allied players all want to get together and kibitz on what their global strategy will be. Same thing for the Germans and the Japanese of the Axis. Okay, so this is a nice resource if you want to do this. I can't stress this enough, guys. This is the phase that will turn a 1 hour turn into an hour and 45. So it's just up to your group. It is the heart of the game. It is the fun aspect of the game. So I personally am inclined, like when I go to the Board Game Geek conventions, playing with a lot of new guys, I don't try to limit this phase. If this phase takes 30 minutes, it takes 30 minutes. Because I want the guys to plan, have fun with it. This is the game, this phase, okay? So it's up to your groups how you want to do it. It's just a disclaimer that if you allow like a 30-minute timer, you're going to start dragging these turns out and making it, a lot longer. I'm not saying that's bad, because we're here to have fun. So, and especially in phase 2 strategic planning, this is the fun part of the game. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys figure that out on your own with your own personal groups and what you guys want to do. Okay, so the very first thing we do in strategic planning is we're going to write our orders and we're going to do turn order bids. Now, some of you guys, well, everybody's got the paper copies. Now, they're a lot smaller, you can see it. So the upgraded one where we can use markers, you can see the size. I mean, this is a lot bigger. So it's a lot, it's bolder. You can read the commands a lot easier, and you can wipe it off. At the end, when the whole turn's over, you can just take your wipe and wipe it all off. One thing I do like about the paper ones, though, is it does like leave an account of the game or a recording of the game, which is one of the reasons why I do like it. Like this is a German from Board Game Geek, turn 2, okay? Or round 2, whatever you want to call it. So here's how we do it. So we're going to write our orders in. So the top number is the command units, okay? So when you're looking at the board, so you go like, I want the 33rd to move to G6. So you would write on your orders 33 to G6. Land commands can only move one territory. We'll talk about these railroads quickly, but air commands and naval commands can move 2. So like you could write the 15th and go, well, I want to attack the Caucasus. So you would write 15 to R6. Now the thing about planes is they can't be pinned and they don't pin anybody else. but technically, which is different than naval units, and we'll get to that in the naval segment here in a second. But planes can go anywhere they want. So you could go, the 15th goes to R6. You could say it goes the G6 to R6, M4 to R6. It doesn't matter. So they can always fly to, they don't have to worry about pinning or anything like that. So when you're writing your orders, you'll notice with Germany, everybody only has 9, except for China and Italy. They only have 6, okay? So you're gonna look at all your command stacks on the board. You're gonna come up with your plan, and then you're basically just gonna write 33 to G6. So let's say we're just gonna stack the Ukraine on this turn. So I kind of move these guys. So if you just want to write, let's stack the Ukraine. So you're going to write 56 to G6, 33 to G6, 14 to G6, 15 to G6. And so right there, if you just did that, that's going to be your first 4 orders. So you're going to write, 14 to G6, 56, 15, 33, all to the G6 area. Now, one of the things about the rules of the game also is let's say you were looking at this unit and for some reason it was upside down and you didn't catch it and you write 51. You just looked at it, glanced, oh, that's the 51. 51 to G6. Well, technically by the rules of the game, when you finish your orders, okay, you're going to hand this card across the table to, let's say we're Germany, to an allied player, and he's going to read out these orders when we execute movement. And let's just say you wrote that 51 to G6. He's going to, and that's right here, 51 to G6. He's going to look at it and go, 51? You don't have a 51. Oh, man, I'm sorry. It was the 15th. It was upside down. So technically by the rules, you miswrote your orders and this air unit has been canceled. It can't fly because you didn't write an order for the 15th. You wrote it for the Phantom 51st. That's the strict ruling of the game. If you write an order that is not possible, like I wrote the 33rd to go to Belarus, G7, and well, rail lines come in, but let's just say you physically could not do that, then that's a misorder and it gets canceled and the 33rd stays there. The thing about these rail lines, and rail lines only, really they only apply to Germany and Russia, and it really only applies early in the game. But if you have, let's say back here, like the French unit, the 72nd, you could write the 72nd to G6, and as long as G6, so when you write the order, you can rail your guys in here. The only way it can get stopped is if Russia comes in before you and embattles this territory, which if they came in before you, this would be flipped over to a hotspot marker, then you couldn't move in. You have to go back to France. You can't stop and pull in and go, whoa, I can't go in there. No, the way the rules are, if you go by rail, if any spot along the rail line is embattled with enemy land units, you can't move. That's how the rail lines work, okay? So let's just go back real quick to the misorders, because that is a big part of the game, because it is gonna happen. Even veterans of the game, it happens. Once again, my advice is it's up to you guys. How do you want to adjudicate that? Some groups, especially if you're first playing, you kind of, well, okay, I'll let it slide this time because we haven't played a lot. You start playing with very experienced players. Experienced players, generally speaking, are going to go, dude, you know the rules. You know how this works. It's a canceled order. I'm sorry you misread 15 as 51, but that's your problem, not mine. Okay? So you're just going to go through and write your 9 orders. Now, I'll do a video specifically on the thing about writing orders, and I'm just going to briefly talk about this. how the orders get written or read is it starts at the top, goes across, second column across, third column across. It's not, well, this moves and this moves. This. No, so the allied player would read it straight across. So sometimes the timing of these are important if you're trying to break pinning. The break pinning concepts where there's embattled territories and you're trying to move guys out. So let's just say the 57th is right here. So the 61st is 1 unit advantage over the 57th. And so what you have to do is you have to leave an equal number of units. So like if I write the 61st to the Caucasus and I go 61 to R6, and that's my only order, well then I split one of the guys because I have a 1 unit advantage over the 57th. So one guy of your choice, you have to get a new command, will move to the Caucasus, and the rest of the 61st is called pinned. They can't move out. Now, here's where that order stuff comes in. So if you go, well, I want the 61st to go into the Caucasus, but you write the 33rd first, they move in, then you write the 61st to the Caucasus. Well, the 33rd has 4 units, the 57th has 5, so in order to make, to have equal amount of units, the 61st would have to leave 1 unit behind, which will join the 33rd, and then the remaining units of the 61st moves in. You got it? So you're like pushing the 61st in here. The key is you have to match the number of units that the Russians have, and then the 61st can move anything over 5 units. So the Germans in this specific stack have 2, 4, 6. They have 10 units here now. So they would be able to move 5 units off the 61st into the Caucasus. So that's an example of where making sure you write your orders in the right sequence. Okay? Now, the thing about naval units, and let me move the camera over here to naval. So, unlike air units, naval units, when they're moving, they can get pinned down. So let's just say in this example, the Russians are in A6. And this is a good example of how this is going to work. So let's say I wrote the 5th here to go to A3 up here. So I wrote that on my, I write that on my order card somewhere here, 5th to A3, 5 to A3. Now, naval units, so let's say the Russian, well, it doesn't matter what's going on here. The Russians are here, and it's a German turn. Because they get to move 2, they get to choose their path. So they could go A7, A3, and just bypass the Russians. Or they could go, you know what, I want to engage the Russians, but my order is still to A3, so I have to go to A3. So I come up here into A6. I go, oops, there's Russians, which is what I wanted. They have 2 units, I have 3 units. So I would have to leave 2 of my subs back here because you have to leave an equal amount of units. You can't fudge and go, well, no, I'll leave 3. No, because this guy is going to A3, so you'd have to pull out a new naval command, and the other guy goes up here. Got it? So you have to leave equal amount of units. You can't, it's equal. You can't, if you have excess, they have to keep moving. They have to keep going up to A3. So that's how naval works. You get to choose your path, however you want to do it. And if you run into enemy units, you have to stop. And if you wrote orders for A3, you're trying to move up here, well, you're going to have to leave an equal amount of units equal to whatever's in A6. In this example, it's 2. So that's how it works. So that was a little bit of also phase 3 of movement when we resolve the orders, but you have to kind of understand that too when you're writing the orders because that's part of the planning. So Just go over it real quick one last time. The top is the command stack number, whether it's, you know, naval, air, or land, and then what territory you're moving to. And you write in your 9 commands. Now up here, after you write your 9 commands in, you have a thing called the oil bid. The oil bid is to determine the turn order on the turn order track. So how that works is remember guys, up here is our turn order. I have a big long video about it because that is, the turn order is kind of the most important aspect of the game when it comes to strategy and trying to figure stuff out. You'll have to watch that video. But basically how this is going to work is, let's say Russia bid 2, England bid 2, America bid 1, this is a 1 bid, and these guys are 3s. Now, what's going to happen is the 2 nations that bid 2, we're just going to shake them up, and you drop 1 on there and go, okay, so Russia won, so they get to choose first. So they can choose any place on the turn order track they want to go on. They don't have to go first. They could go, I want to go last, or I want to go 4th, okay? Let's just say they go, I want to go 7th. Well, Britain bid 2, so now they get to choose, and they go, well, I want to go first. Then the same thing happens here, random draw. Just say Germany goes, they go, well, let's go 6. America goes, well, we're making a move. And then these 3 guys, they're called the 0 bids. 0 bid nations are always random drawed, okay? Remember, China doesn't have any oil, so they never bid. So China's always a 0 bid. And so then we just roll for the 3 guys, go, oh, Italy gets to choose next. You know, then Japan, and then you guys just place them down. And then that's the turn order. And so when we reveal our orders, in this case, Britain goes first, and we just move down the order track. Got it? Now, after you do your oil bids, the next phase is you reveal your bids and establish turn order, which is what we did. That's phase 2, or that's step 2 of phase 2. And then every nation that bid oil on your track, so let's just say for this discussion, Germany bid 2, you're going to move your peg down to 4. So you have to consume your oil when you're doing this. Once again, watch the turn order video, and I go way into detail on how to play the oil game and when it comes to bidding and all that kind of stuff. Then that's step 3 is called the pay for oil. So they use 2, so now we're done. Okay? That's phase 2, the strategic planning phase. This video is almost 20 minutes long. And the reason why it's that long is because this is the heart of the game, guys. This is the most important aspect of having fun, doing your planning. All the guys are together in their little groups forming up their battle plan for the turn. But that's how you do strategic planning. You're going to write your orders. You're going to write your oil bid in. You're going to reveal your bids, establish a turn order on the turn order track, and then pay for oil. And then the next phase is movement. Be back with movement.